here we are again for another episode of Equity Guru's Investors Roundtable, where we sit around and chat about companies we like and discuss the challenges and the pros and the cons and let you know just how much we'd put our money, how much money we put where our mouth is in the end with our Equity Guru bucks. Today we're talking about Versus Technologies. This is a cognitive computing company based out of California, headed by Gabriel Rene. It trades on the NEO exchange under the symbol VERS. And heck, if this message on this company, on what its mandate is and what it delivers is more confusing, I couldn't think so. So Chris is going to break it down in layman's terms and let you know just how much potential this company has and what you should be looking at when you look at it. Chris, tell us about Versus.
So I was sitting in a sushi restaurant with Gabriel Rene and a couple of other people around this deal a couple of months back before they went public, and talked about how difficult it was to explain the concept. And they were like, well, we think we've got it down to a pretty hot couple of hundred words. And I said, well, you got to get it down to 2 words. And Gabriel said, well, how would you describe Tesla in 2 words? And I said, drivable iPhone. What else you got? And so the challenge has been to come down to what are the 2 words that Versus needs to describe itself. And that is, to me, communicating data. By that I mean 99% of the data that is stored in computer servers today never gets accessed, never gets looked at. It never becomes something that's in a report for an executive or an e-commerce solution. It is just data that is collated and just thrown down in an ever-increasing bank of servers. Now, the reason for that is that Vishal Corp is getting data about what the weather's going to be like, and Galen Corp is getting data about what the traffic looks like, and Fabi Corp is figuring out where all the streets are under construction. But you 3 don't talk to each other because you've got your own businesses and you've got your own data in your own formats in ways that doesn't actually talk to anybody. So when somebody like Google Maps comes along and says, how can we make Google Maps better? It'd be great if all your data were accessible in all 3 places by that one group. What that requires is a data language, right? A markup language, much like HTML runs the internet by putting together a set of standard programming coding terms that everybody understands and everyone can plug into. If you had the same language for data, then it means if I was setting up an app that helped you get to work quicker, that I could go through all 3 of you and get your data and utilize it for my needs. Maybe pay for it, maybe not, whatever. So what Versus is doing is putting together the language by which you can take all these different streams of data and make sense to them. As an example, if you were going to do drone delivery services, right? Conventional wisdom is, that your drone takes a package, takes off from your HQ, flies across town, and drops it off at Fabi's doorstep. The reality is, along the way, you've got trees, planes, cars, people, dogs, birds, electric wires. And when we get to Fabi's doorstep, do we drop it at the doorstep? Is it safe to drop it there? Or is there a different place that's been set out? Is it the right place? I don't know if you've ever used your GPS to try and get somewhere and it says your location is on the left, and you look on the left and it's a garbage tip. It's not grandma's place. So you want the drone to be able to access the visuals of what it should look like when they're at the right place. And then you want them to be able to get home. You don't want drones flying past Galen's condo when he's in a state of undress. You don't want them skirting along where it thinks there's no tree, but a tree has actually grown. There's all sorts of rules and regulations that the city puts in place to say, here's how high you must fly, here's how far you must not fly, don't fly over the schools, don't fly within 20 feet of a building, et cetera, et cetera. All these rules make drone delivery impossible, which is probably news to people who've been investing in drone companies for the past 6 years. But realistically, you can't do it by just typing in an address and off you trot. If you could, there'd be 30,000 drones flying around everyone's suburb. It would be a mess. So along comes Versus and says, okay, so using our markup language, you could put in the road rules, you could put in the air rules, you could put in the geofencing, you could put in the visuals of what the place is supposed to look like when you get there, or what is the GPS location that the person receiving the package has put down as where it should be dropped. What are the times that it can be dropped where the person might be at home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if only Versus was able to convince the makers of the internet to make that markup language for data the official internet markup language for data. What's that I hear? They've put together the standards that the keepers of the internet, the guys that look after what is HTML or what is an emoji or what is et cetera, they've taken the white paper that the founders of Versus put together and they've made that the official language. So when you have a warehouse in Hoboken that has 300 people picking through toys to send out for Christmas, and they're being told on their clipboard, okay, go find the big Betsy Bear doll. It's in aisle 7, row 32, and they get there and they're like, all right, well, where is it? It's like shopping at IKEA, not to use IKEA for yet another video, but these guys have put together a little tablet that basically says, okay, so here's your GPS of where the product's going to be. Go right 2 aisles, go left 2 aisles, and it's on the third story shelf, and it's blue, and it's scan this when you get there. Okay, that's great. That's something that Amazon has. That's something that everyone has. What might make it different is when you plug in the AI to this thing, which over 100 or so picks finds out that at one corner of the warehouse, you've got an item that is generally bought with another item that's at the other corner of the warehouse. So tonight, why don't we get the forklift trucks out and move those two things together? You've just saved yourself a trip. You've just saved your employee 100 meters every time they have to put that combination together. Over time, the artificial intelligence, which is what it actually is, it's not AI that we see on the internet, which is like put your avatar in and get a filter on it. It's real artificial intelligence that learns as it goes. If you change your warehouse configuration around, your pickers don't have to walk at all. And what they found is by using this, that they actually save 40% on costs, manpower, labor, health and safety, 40% better returns using the Versus system than not using the Versus system. Now, again, imagine if they managed to do a deal with a company that is in every second warehouse in the USA so that they can get that into practice. Well, they just did. So they've just gone and done a deal with a company called Blue Yonder, which supplies fulfillment solutions to over 3,500 of the world's largest retailers. 3,500 companies in one hit are selling the Versus system right now. Now, you're not going to see that in the financials of the last quarter. You're not going to see that in some of the news releases. You're not going to see that suddenly some of the largest companies in the world are be using the Versus systems every month. What you're going to see is just a general line item of sales, right? Large companies don't go out and allow you to put out a news release every time you get something inside their doors. But what does happen when you get inside their doors is you never get out. Once one of these companies has changed the way they work to include your system and seen a 40% reduction in costs, they're never letting you go, right? It's not like I'm going to order your sports drink, and if it doesn't sell, I'm not going to order it next month. If you get through the door, which sometimes admittedly takes a bit of time, you stay through the door. This is something that happens a lot in, we saw it in Ant, right? One of our other clients is they're doing good deals with big companies and they can't talk about them because the big companies are like, no, you don't get to ride on our coattails with your stock price, but we'll do business with you and your sales will go up. You're just going to have to tough it out for a little bit. That's where Versus is. They're doing the deals. They're being piloted in some massive companies that if they decide to press the button will be big revenue earners consistently month after month after month going forward with very little exposure on the expenses side because you're talking about software, right? You don't have to go and make a factory, make copies of your software. You've made your software, now you get to monetize it. The only difference is here, they'll have to send somebody out to the warehouse to make sure that everything's put in properly. But once that's done, the money rolls in from that point forward. This is good business. Now you can tie it to the word metaverse if you want. That's not a plus because people see what the metaverse is like. If I had another 3 minutes, I could tell you a metaverse experience I had with the EU's attempt to reach out to kids on a metaverse that ended up with my head shoved up a large red guy's ass. but it's a whole other video, and we don't want to get into
That is
that.
a whole other video and
The
probably not
metaverse,
broadcastable on YouTube.
the
But
metaverse is crap as it stands because nobody really understands the value of it. So no one wants to talk about metaverse. It's been Zuckerberg to hell. It's not Second Life, right? It's a whole thing where you're bringing in various different bits of data that talk to each other. The internet right now is one way. I say to Netflix, show me a video, and all of the traffic comes back to me from Netflix, because if I was sending the same amount of traffic back to Netflix, the internet would collapse. We wouldn't be able to do it. So before we get an entirely new internet, what's going to happen is companies like Versus have to figure out a way to send information quickly and easily, get it back quickly and easily, and make it really useful. And that's what they've done. And I hope that wasn't a 12-minute, 3-minute discussion.
that was a very, very detailed explanation of what the company
That
does,
makes sense.
which is good. Absolutely.
Yep.
We all
Okay.
need that. But I'm going
What
to
was the 2 words?
I'm going to forego my section, and I'm going to let Fabi pick up. You tell me, Fabi, as somebody who has probably not seen or looked at Versus before, what you think of them as an investor.
Well, much to your surprise, I had looked at Versus before,
Well, look
believe
at
it or
me,
not.
color me an idiot. So there you go.
And I find what they are trying to achieve very interesting for a few reasons. One is that if you actually do any sort of superficial homework on their team, you're likely to be very impressed. Like, I knew people on their board before I ever heard of Versus, right? These people are in the know, in the industry, in AI, in general, intellectual property, et cetera, et cetera. You name it, any sort of skill set that you need in order to make this something real, they have either on the board or on the management team. So that was quite a surprise to me, because I didn't expect that caliber of people to be on a company that's, with quite a low market cap, if you compare it to where they can be in the next few years with what they're building. Another thing that took me by surprise is the fact that right out of the gate, they had revenue, which for a tech company, it's almost like, what are you doing? You're supposed to just have fluff and growth and numbers, right, going up for the first number of years, and then maybe you get a chance to actually sell something. No, these guys right out of the gate had, a nice little contract of, a multi-million contract that could actually be expanded, and it's within their sort of logistical product. So I thought that was really interesting, because it shows that AI is currently being used for real solutions in the real world. Just like Chris mentioned, if you're trying to sort out where the picker needs to go and collect the package, that is real information that will influence the bottom line of a company such as Amazon, etc. And they're willing to pay real money in order to make that process more streamlined. And so I was quite happy to see that straight out of the gate, they had a contract, and that they're able to get more conscious like this, and that they're solving real problems. And they're in AI, which is really hot right now. People are very, I guess, involved in what AI is creating in 2022. And the question I think that retail investors will have in the coming couple of years is, how can I invest in AI? So currently people ask me, how can I invest in AI? Because I've been talking about AI quite a bit. And I accidentally invested in a company that's AI based a couple of years ago. It's been doing well, but I had only really known private companies. You'd have to go to California and be a VC basically in order to get in on most of the AI deals out there. But this is an opportunity that we have in Canada, which is quite amazing, because if even 1/10 of what they're trying to achieve is actually achieved within the next, call it, decade, then forget 40 million, forget 400 million, forget 4 billion. We're talking about multi-billion, because this is AI is a game changer in and of itself. I'm a true believer. And the fact that they're using data in order to provide real value right from the get-go is awesome. If they can make the language of AI interchangeable and transferable from, different products, different services, then that is similar to inventing the internet. I cannot put a price tag on that. So fingers crossed. I'm not a shareholder yet, but this is super interesting.
That's
Awesome.
where 5G becomes interesting, right? We've all heard about 5G. Oh, we got 5G access on our phones. Ooh, that's going to be amazing. Have you noticed any difference? Not me. But the
No.
only time you will is when the data can talk to other data, right? The value of 5G is it's not just a one-two communication device. Now it's like you can talk to your washing machine, which can talk to the government, which can talk to, like, any data can be
I don't want my washing machine talking to the government.
Yeah, me neither. But then we can pay extra to stop that.
Yeah,
That's
see, there you
Where
go.
all the stocks go.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Fabi. That was a really nice analysis. Vishal, can you give us a technical view of what's going on with Versus and what you think of it?
For sure, yeah. No, I'll keep my part here a bit short because I don't think this is a stock that you necessarily want to trade. I do think this is, an investment for the long term. If we go back, this year, this stock was one of the hottest tech IPOs on the Canadian markets. Flying past $1, hitting highs at around $1.10. I think in a previous investor roundtable, I did mention that, hey, usually when you get this major uptrend or an upward momentum move, nothing moves in a straight line forever. People are going to be taking profits. And we spotted this sort of double topping, sort of M pattern that it looks like an M. And we were watching this 95-cent zone. We got that breakdown there. And because it's a relatively new chart when you're applying technicals, you need some price action, right? So it's going to take some time to develop levels, support and resistance levels to work with. Really, all we had was that 95-cent zone and the $1.05 zone right up here. Now going forward, we do have some more technical levels that we can work with. I would say that the 72 to 73-cent zone was resistance. We did actually have a breakout above that zone and some momentum on that Blue Yonder news, but I do think just with the overall market conditions, we've seen a lot of breakouts just not get that momentum, and we see a drop taking us back below the breakout zones. I don't think it's Versus fault. I just think this is more of a broader stock market issue with markets dropping rather than. It's December too. A lot of the markets are just there's not much liquidity there. There's some volatility given things going around the world. Another support level that I would have on my radar here is around the 55-cent zone, which is likely a zone we might be testing sometime soon here. And I would expect some buyers to step in here. We did actually break below it in early November, but the bulls recovered and we got a close right back above that level. So that's what I see on the technicals. But again, I think this is one that you don't really want to just trade. It's more of buy and hold. And I think, as Fabi said, this is a great way for Canadians to invest in the AI sector, which you're hearing a lot about, and is going to be one of the hottest investment trends for the future.
There you have it, folks. Okay, Chris, 30 words or less. Can you give me what you would dump on this company in terms of cash?
I'm into it. I don't want to be setting any trends for myself, any expectations, but at 64 cents, dump it all in. I talk to people who are around this deal a little bit, and it's been contentious over the last few months, right? There's a D-bag on Twitter that's been running it down. I think mostly because he doesn't like me, but I don't think that's had any real impact on anything. If you look at Meta stocks, former Facebook, they're down 60, 70% year over year. So, the metaverse anchor hasn't helped a lot of companies right now. Meta's certainly down. AMP has struggled to get itself off its base. If you look at this as a metaverse stock and don't really put any thought into it, sure, why would you buy it? But if you look at this as the fact that the step one of their business plan has been to look at logistics, and they're already in the laps of massive multinational companies. That's one thing that they can do with their tech of 100 things that are out there, right? If Amazon comes along and says this company's worth what, we can just pick it up and we have all that software to use for ourselves instead of having to pay for it every month, then this thing gets taken out next week, right? It's a real takeout target at this price. So what do I want to do? Wait for it to drop another couple of cents and see if I can get a better deal? Or look at the news flow, realize that the news flow has been for the past few months, and that at some point, likely when the next financial is going to come out, there's going to be a bunch more. I think this is the time to get on this thing. It's definitely come down from its highs, but its highs were reckless exuberance based around the fact that Meta was going to put $10 billion into the metaverse. It realistically should have started at 40 cents. By now, we'd be up to 60 cents, but I'll be jumping up and down saying 50-cent profit, fantastic, instead of looking at the heart attack that we look at on the stock chart right now. I love the fact that in November, when everything else was hurting, that this thing was slowly climbing. The fact that someone sold off on it in the wake of their news, well, that happens. We've seen it before. Yeah. Tax loss selling season is upon us. It might continue to happen. I'm not going to make my buys based around any of that stuff. I think it's value at this price, so I'm all in.
There you go. All right, Fabi, go ahead. Tell me what you think.
I would start to nibble this right now at 64 cents, and I'd spend the whole 10K from now until the end of the year. I like this
Okay, so you're just in along the longer
Big bet.
run. Nice. Love it. Okay, Vishal, what are you doing?
10K for me, 10K for me, Galen. I think this is, again, one of those that you don't really want to trade. You want to hold it for the long term and have a longer term view and approach to this one. So I'm going to throw in 10K here at 64 cents.
Well, very quickly, even though I didn't really discuss the company, I think this company has got a lot on the go in terms of brain power, potential, transformative technologies, an AI operating system, which is the first of its kind that will soon come online and be available to everybody to program on. This is game-changing shit, guys. So I am going to jump in at 10,000. It's pretty damn cheap right now. I can't see it going anywhere else. Zuckerberg has already done enough damage to Meta. I don't think he's got any more unless he introduces a new set of legs. All right, so that is it for this episode of Investor Roundtable. Glad you could show up and come and visit. We have been discussing VERS Technologies. It trades on the NEO exchange under the symbol VERS. Please do your own research. We have our own opinions, and you may take what you like from them, but make an educated decision, please. All right, we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.